we hear it all the time, right? Ditch the 9 to 5, be your own boss, build an empire from your laptop. It's the dream. But let's be real for a second. Underneath all those perfect Instagram posts is a pretty harsh truth. For a lot of people, that leap into freedom turns into a total financial nightmare. So today, we're going to cut through all that hype. This is a battle of business models, and we're here to see who really comes out on top. So get this. What if I told you a freelancer might have to pull in $140,000 just to have the same real-world spending power as a salaried employee who's making $100,000? And no, that is not an exaggeration. That's just the cold, hard math of taxes and benefits. The freedom you're chasing, it could come with a 40% pay cut you never, ever saw coming. So stick with me because the numbers we're about to break down, well, they might just change the way you think about your entire career. All right, let's set the stage for round one. We've got 3 contenders at the starting line: Sarah, Mark, and David. They're all aiming for that same goal, $100,000 in gross income. On the surface, yeah, it looks like a totally even playing field. But trust me, once you pop the hood, you see their financial realities are about as different as they can possibly be. First up, in this corner, we have Sarah, our 9 to 5 professional. She is a shark marketing manager at a tech company, and her salary is exactly $100,000. Her paycheck? It's predictable, it's steady. But here's the thing most people completely miss. Her salary is just the tip of the iceberg. The real magic, the hidden wealth, is in her total compensation package. Just look at this hidden value. Her employer pays half her FICA taxes. Boom, that's over $7,600 she never even has to think about. Then you've got health insurance, where her company is covering a massive chunk of that premium. And this is my favorite part, a 5% 401k match. That's literally free money, 100% return on her investment instantly. You add in paid time off, and what you've got is a massive financial safety net. Okay, now let's turn to our next contender. Meet Mark. He's a brilliant graphic designer who finally quit the corporate grind to bet on himself. And you know what? He crushed it. He hits his $100,000 revenue goal, and he is feeling on top of the world. He's got total freedom, he sets his own hours, but then the tax man comes knocking. As a freelancer, Mark gets absolutely slammed with the dreaded self-employment tax. What this means is he's on the hook for both the employee and the employer side of Social Security and Medicare taxes. That's a 15.3% hit right off the top. Money that Sarah, our 9 to 5er, didn't have to worry about at all because her company paid half of it for her. And oh, the hits just keep on coming. He has 0 company benefits. Health insurance? That comes straight out of his own pocket. There's no 401k match, so his retirement savings are 100% on him. And paid time off? That's not a real thing in his world. If Mark doesn't work, Mark doesn't get paid. That 2-week vacation he's been dreaming of? It's not just the cost of the trip. It's a $4,000 hit to his bottom line because he's not billing. Okay, finally, let's look at David, our agency owner. He also wanted to be his own boss, but he was thinking about structure from day one. He forms an LLC and, this is key, he elects to be taxed as an S-corporation. Now, I know that might sound complicated, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. And honestly, it is an incredibly powerful financial move. So here's how it works. The crucial thing is how David splits up his earnings. First, he pays himself what the IRS calls a reasonable salary, basically what he'd have to pay someone else to do his job. That salary gets hit with normal payroll taxes. But, and this is the genius part, the rest of his profit he takes as a distribution, and those distributions from an S-Corp are not subject to that punishing 15.3% self-employment tax. This one single move saves him thousands of dollars. So at the end of year 1, the scoreboard is crystal clear. Sarah, our 9 to 5er, has an effective take-home value of about $98,000, all thanks to those amazing benefits. David, the savvy agency owner, comes in next at around $81,000, and Mark, our classic freelancer, is way behind in a distant third at just $70,000. The lesson here is so obvious. Gross income is for show. It's what you actually keep that really matters. Okay, let's fast forward a year. Our contenders are aiming higher now. They're scaling to $150,000. And this is where the fundamental, deep-seated differences between their paths really start to show. The way to grow couldn't be more different. Let's look at their core growth models. Sarah's path is linear. She has to climb that corporate ladder. It's stable, sure, but there's a hard ceiling on her income. She's building a career. David's path, on the other hand, is all about exponential growth. He builds a system, hiring people, creating processes that can scale. There is no ceiling. He's not just working, he's building an actual asset. So what about Mark the freelancer? How does he get to 150,000? Well, he enters what we call hustle mode, working more hours, juggling more clients, raising his rates. His income is tied directly, one-to-one, to the hours he can physically work. Yeah, he's making more money, but he's literally trading his life for it. As this quote says so perfectly, he hasn't bought freedom. He's bought himself a job with a relentless boss, and that boss is him. At the 150K level, the pads are just undeniable. Sarah's take-home value is still dominant at 144,000. But look what happened. The gap between her and Mark has actually gotten wider. And David, by building a system instead of just selling his hours, has now pulled way ahead of Mark, taking home almost $9,000 more on the exact same revenue. So far, we've been deep in the numbers, right? But this decision goes way beyond a spreadsheet. There are these powerful, unseen forces at play. We're talking risk, lifestyle, legal liability. These things don't show up on a tax return, but they can absolutely make or break your financial future. Let's talk about risk. Sarah's 9-to-5 feels low risk day to day, but her biggest weakness is having all her eggs in one basket. If she loses that one job, her entire income vanishes overnight. Mark the freelancer, he lives in a constant state of feast or famine, super high risk, with that relentless pressure to find the next client. But David's agency, it starts out risky, but as it grows with more clients and a team, it actually becomes the most diversified and stable path of them all. And this brings us to a huge, often overlooked difference: liability. As a sole proprietor, there is no legal separation between Mark and his business. If he gets sued, his personal assets, his house, his car, his savings, they're all fair game. But David's LLC? It creates a separate legal entity. It's a firewall. If his agency gets sued, his personal life is protected. This is a massive, and I mean massive, advantage that so many freelancers ignore until it's way too late. So after all that, who actually gets richer? The thing is, the answer isn't that simple, because it all depends on one crucial thing. How do you define richer? Look, if you prioritize stability and peace of mind, a good 9-to-5 isn't some kind of trap. It's a powerful tool for building a secure life. Sarah is rich in security. Mark got the freedom he wanted, but it came at a pretty steep financial and personal cost. He's rich in autonomy. But the path with the greatest potential to build traditional, scalable wealth, that's clearly David's agency. It's the only one that truly becomes an asset. He's rich in scalability. So the whole point is this. The question isn't just, should I be my own boss? The real question you should be asking is, what kind of boss do I want to be? Because freelancing is like buying yourself a more demanding job where you are always the product. Building an agency is about building a business, a system that can one day, hopefully, work without you. At the end of the day, the road to richer looks different for everybody. It might be security, it might be freedom, it might be building an empire. None of these paths are wrong, but you have to know that they lead to vastly different places. The goal is to understand the trade-offs and consciously choose the one that actually aligns with the life you want to build. So I'll just leave you with this question. Which path makes you rich?